Hey, what's going on? It's Johnny King, and thank you for tuning in to my YouTube channel here at Level Up Lifestyle. And today I want to talk about the power of priming. I got my little notes here. I want to jump right in. What is priming and why is it important? Well, if you think about it, a lot of times we believe that we're in control of our thoughts, right? A lot of us are very much infatuated with controlling time, controlling, various stresses in life, just our environment and our, day to day. The reality though is that so many things outside of our environment really kind of can creep in and attack that brain of yours to where we find ourselves reacting, maybe yelling at your kids when we're actually reacting out of something that happened earlier in the day, if that makes sense. And so that emotional fitness is the most important thing that you can really work on, which is controlling your mind and your emotions on a moment-to-moment basis, because it's how we are experiencing life and how people are experiencing us, if that makes sense. So that being said, you have to train your brain to be kind of like an athlete. And the way that an athlete trains his or her body is the same way that you need to train your thoughts, your emotions, and that sort of thing, to have the emotional fitness to get you through life. Otherwise, life will just toss us around, as we well know, right? So think about it. Courage unused, does it grow or does it shrink? Passion unexpressed, does that get any more passionate? Does it get any bigger, or does it go away? Faith unemployed, does it expand or does it contract? So as well as I do, it's kind of one of those sayings that if you don't use it, you lose it, not only for this but also for our emotional muscles. And so discipline, perseverance, faithfulness, if we don't use those things on a continual basis, we can very easily lose it, if you will. So that being said, I often think about it in terms of, like, I go to a really powerful movie, let's say. I go to a superhero movie, and if it's a really good one, typically as I'm coming out of it, I feel like that superhero. I just feel like I'm invincible, and I'm like, yes, let's do this. I just want to take on the world and do all those things. Or conversely, if I go to a really creepy or like some type of thriller, a horror movie, man, like I'm on edge, like all the way until I wake up the next morning. I'm looking over my shoulder, and in the parking lot if it's dark, and every noise, it just goes to show that you can be all into an experience for 2 hours at the movie theater and have it highly affect the lens through which you see life. And so that being said, I'd love to give you an example that I heard from Tony Robbins that gives you a good example of the power of priming, if you will. And so they did a study actually where 2 actors went and randomly approached 100 people each, okay? And when they approached these people, they did the same exact thing, okay? Same facial expression, same approach, same questions, same things, so that everyone had the same exact experience. The only difference is that when they walked up, they'd say, excuse me, would you mind holding this for a second? As they reached out their phone, pulled it, did something on their phone, put it back in, and took the coffee away. And so the only difference though between one actor's, 100 people, 50 people, that actor gave them, a cup of hot coffee, and to the other 50 people, they gave a cup of iced coffee, okay? So hot and cold, that's the only difference, okay? So that being said, the crazy thing was 35 to 45 minutes later, right? They had someone walk up with a clipboard and just say, hey, excuse me, we'll give you $20 cash right now if you'd be willing to read these 3 paragraphs and answer 2 questions. So 95% of the people said, yeah, of the 200, said, we'll give it a shot. And so they had them read, 3 paragraphs, which was a short little story about a main protagonist. And then they asked them 2 questions about the story. The 2 questions, the first one was, what is the first emotion that you link to the main character? And what's the second one? Okay, that was the 2 questions they asked. For the people that they had handed the warm coffee to, 81% said that the main character was warm and generous. Okay? For the people that they'd handed the cold iced coffee to, 80%, a 1% difference, said that the main character was cold and uncaring. Can you believe that? That's like a 1% difference. And the only difference, again, between what the actors did for those 100 people was ask half of them to hold a iced coffee and the other half to hold hot coffee. And so if that doesn't show you how clearly our exterior environment can easily affect our thought on our experiences of life, I don't know what will, right? So I think that's pretty wild, and it just goes to show how highly sensitive we are to kind of subconscious things, but how quickly we can become triggered to things that might drive us to overeat, overdrink, to be stressed out, to take our angers or our frustrations out on people that don't even deserve it. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes down to the power of priming, I'm talking about doing some type of ritual, because I often say, show me a man or woman's rituals and I will show you their results, because their daily rituals of, and we do things the same, we're creatures of habit. As I know, like a lot of times people eat the same breakfasts, they put the first leg in the pant leg every single time, they have their morning ritual. You have an evening ritual that probably includes brushing your teeth or cleaning your face or that sort of thing, watching TV before you go to bed, or Netflix, or reading a book, kissing your spouse or not, So again, the rituals of someone who's healthy are very, very different than the rituals of someone who's unhealthy, right? The rituals of 2 partners who have a really beautiful, loving relationship is very different from those that are just kind of cohabitating and have no passion and no spark anymore, because they're no longer doing the rituals that they were doing at the beginning of the relationship. Does that make sense? So for me, to be very, very clear that I'm going to keep myself moving towards my ultimate vision, my life plan, is to have a morning ritual where I actually prime my focus and my brain on not allowing the day to get away from me, and I'm sure, most of you, watching this have experienced where you just have those days where from the moment you wake up, you're like scrambling. I've had those days where like my alarm didn't go off and like, and then the rest of the day is like me just like crawling to kind of get back, just caught up to where everyone else was living. I just felt like I was always behind, and it just snowballs, right? And so there's something that I have done recently, which is challenge myself to not snoozing. And so that might be something that you'd want to challenge yourself with as well. Challenge yourself to not snooze, because that subconsciously starts the day with a thought of like, you know what, I'm not ready to take on the day. I need 9 more minutes, right? Let me just delay starting my day for a little bit longer, 18 minutes, 27 minutes, and again, I'm an individual that is just as guilty as the next, because I certainly have had days where I've snoozed it over an hour, 2 hours, right? Or I just say, screw it, I just reset the alarm for a couple hours later. There's a fine line, right, between listening to your body that it really needs more sleep, or just being unmotivated and not very clear as to what you want to be doing in the morning. So I have a very, very clear morning ritual that I go through, and it's actually on a little app that I have where I check off boxes, and my very first thing is I get up, turn off the alarm with no snooze, I put on my Apple Watch, I go grab a huge glass of water, and I just pound that water, right? And then it just goes on from there. And a lot of it actually ends up allowing me to take time to sit down and prime my thought, my direction, my focus, connecting with my creator, and looking at where do I want to go today. That's going to get me just moving the ball down the field, if you will, towards that ultimate vision of what I'm committed to creating, if that makes sense. So I hope this has been helpful for you. For me, it just goes to show that, for 30 years of my life, I just kind of was going through life like I thought it should, or like to be, the good kid that I was raised to be. I had to do all these things, when kind of life threw me a major curveball, and it woke me up to saying, you know what? I'm no longer going to commit, I'm no longer going to live my life that way. I want to create a life where I'm spending more time outdoors. I'm more active. I get to choose where and when I want to work. I want to travel the world. All these things that I've created have come as a result of me being very, very clear with the direction that I want to go, and then waking up in the mornings or even the night before, creating the activities that need to happen the next day, so that there's no waiting time, there's no stall time, there's no snoozing, if you will, right? And that has everything to do with making sure that your brain is primed for taking action, primed for happiness or success, or being present, having the intention of fulfilling, those goals that you ultimately want to achieve for that day, for that week, for that month, for the quarter, year, and so on and so forth. So anyways, from me to you, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. You can always reach out to me at johnny@johnnyking.com. I would love to get your email. Hit me up on social media, of course, and please subscribe to my Level Up Lifestyle channel. Give me a thumbs up, or I'm always open to constructive criticism. And until next time, get that morning ritual done. Prime yourself. Get excited about creating that ultimate vision. And if you haven't seen that video that I've created where it helps you create that ultimate vision and life plan for yourself, definitely go check out the link. I'll put it in the description below here, and you can check out that process too, because that's hugely important to prime yourself and be very, very clear with the direction you're going. So anyways, till next time, see ya.